All right, you guys, just coming off of one serial list into a potential another. We are giving another update on Bryan Kohberger here. So, on today, actually.
Alleged.
Yeah, allegedly. It's funny how many people really want you to use that word when I'd rather give a blanket statement. Everything coming out of my mouth is opinion, and we're all just hoping for the best. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But anyways, going into it here. So the Honorable Public Defender Ann Taylor here electronically filed on 7/28 today at 8:23 a.m. a notice of hearing, okay? Notice is hereby given that Bryan C. Kohberger, by and through his attorney, Ann C. Taylor, public defender, will call on for hearing the below motions in the above entitled manner on August 18th, 2023 at 10:30 a.m. or as soon thereafter as counsel may be heard in front of the Honorable Judge John Judge, okay? And then it's in this order. Defendant's third motion to compel, filed June 22nd, 2023. Defendant's second motion to stay proceedings, filed July 25th, 2023. Defendant's motion to dismiss indictment on grounds of error in grand jury instructions or in the alternative remand for preliminary hearing, filed July 25th, 2023. So, I'm assuming a lot of people that watch our Kohberger videos are up on this case, okay? So have you heard of the two big documents that's come out?
Kind of, yeah.
So we have what's being talked about here, the motion to dismiss,
and
okay?
And the alibi, right?
And the alibi, yes. So we have here the prosecution, comes now, so this was submitted on the 27th.
And let me say, I watched a couple videos on the alibi, and I still don't totally understand what the heck is going on.
Yeah, I'll explain it. So, on the 27th, okay, the prosecution submits, comes now the state of Idaho by and through the Latah County prosecuting attorney and respectfully moves the court for an order compelling the defense to comply in full with Idaho Code 19-519 and ICR 12.1 and provide the state with notice of an alibi that may be offered herein, said notice to include 1, the specific place or places at which the defendant claims to have been at the time of the burglary and homicides in this case, and 2, the names and addresses of all witnesses upon whom the defendant intends to rely to establish such an alibi. So, we'll start with the alibi here. What does that mean, okay? So this is the prosecution submitting a motion to compel the defense to come forward with this alibi. From the beginning, we've heard Ann Taylor talking about Bryan Kohberger having an alibi, offering up an alibi, okay? I know a lot of internet sleuths out there have been talking about, well, they're investigating and coming up with the evidence to prove what his alibi is, whether I've heard he was driving for DoorDash, Grubhub, he was with somebody else, or whatever. So this is the prosecution saying, hey, it's time. You're coming up on a deadline, okay? So for any grand jury trial, there are deadlines for this information and evidence to come forward so that both parties, the prosecution and the defense, have time to look it over, okay? And that is what's fair in this situation, right? Even though we saw the prosecution pulling some mega low blows. Now, Ann Taylor has pushed this off multiple times, saying, look, Judge, we need more time to look through the giant data bomb that the prosecution has given us, okay? We're looking at thousands of videos, hundreds of hours, thousands of documents, hundreds of hours of video, and we need to go through everything to know what to do best, okay? Now, the statement with the alibi is them saying where, yes, this is gray area matter in where they came forward, but they came forward saying, yes, we are going to present an alibi. We are going to present an alibi in full compliance of the Idaho code, okay? Now, what that means, though, is that they're telling the prosecution that, yes, we are going to be providing an alibi for you. However, since they have not submitted any eyewitnesses, since they have not submitted any, like, picture proof, video proof, or anything like that, they can no longer submit that. It has hit the expiration date.
Their alibi. The expiration date was like July 24th or something.
The expiration date, yeah, it was I think it was the 25th, but their expiration date to submit new evidence or eyewitnesses or whatever has expired. So
yeah, but it's up to the judge. He can accept it if he wants, but he does not have to because they hit the deadline.
If he wants, everyone needs to be real careful here because, like, people are still cut down the middle here. They are so emotionally connected to their idea of whether Bryan Kohberger is innocent or guilty. You know, people are so bought in online whether it could go one way or the other, and I think it could go either way.
I think so too.
Maybe he's a little bit guilty in this by being a driver. Maybe he has nothing to do with this. I have no idea. There could be so many different possibilities, okay? But basically what Ann Taylor is coming forward and saying is that we are going to give an alibi. But most likely what that means is it's going to be Bryan Kohberger's statement of alibi of where he was, what he was doing, which everybody knows. There's not a whole lot of worth in that. Anybody can say anything, okay?
Yeah, that's not a real alibi.
Right. Well, that's still considered an alibi, even if there's no way to verify it. So that's what they're talking about. They're going to present it, okay? They're going to use eyewitness accounts or expert statement accounts on the validity of his alibi and how it's possible, not possible, things like that. That's all within the law of this alibi that Ann Taylor has given.
So what I've seen people saying is, if you were accused of killing these kids and you were innocent, you would absolutely have an alibi. And I'm thinking, dude, if you are a single college guy who lives alone and you were just chilling at home, or you went out driving around that night, or you went to go hook up with a girl, or I don't know, like, there's ways you could not have an alibi.
Absolutely.
Hooking up with a girl, obviously you would. But you know what I mean? Things you were doing by yourself where there wouldn't be any immediate evidence or eyewitnesses, and you would have to dig and search for maybe security camera footage or something, you know. Yeah. It could be hard.
Here's an example,
We do know he was out away from Pullman, Washington that night, though. His phone did go to Moscow.
But we saw the unreliability of those phone pings, okay? You guys, if you guys haven't seen that video, you really need to watch it, because all those phone pings mean is that he was within 180 degrees of one side of that phone tower. Phone towers are shaped like a triangle, and the reliability is only that, okay, you're on this side of the phone tower over
and
here.
I saw
they
experts.
aren't pinpointing
I
it.
saw experts in articles saying that was unreliable.
Yeah.
And I saw maps of like the cell towers in that whole area and stuff, and them saying that it's not perfect evidence.
No.
And I saw, and this was not even like YouTubers speculating. This was like people that work in the industry, and you also worked in the industry, and I saw a lot of people saying that's not a smoking gun at all.
Nope.
And it is super unreliable because of the one cell tower that covers that town.
Yep.
But I do think they would be able to tell, because he wasn't in Pullman where he lives. He lives in Pullman, and it's early in the morning, and for some reason, he's in Moscow.
It depends on the placement of that tower. You got to remember that tower covers 27 square miles, okay? So if that one side includes the house and his residence where he stays, then no, you have no idea. We have no idea. None whatsoever, okay? It could just be changing mini cells, because in each side of those towers, there's multiple mini cells there. But going back to what I was saying, one thing I wanted to give an example to you guys on is one thing I like to do is drive while listening to like true crime or politics or updates or documentaries or whatever podcast I'm into during that time. He could totally have been doing that and not be guilty.
Yeah, but the time of day is a bit odd to be doing.
Is it?
Yeah, like 3 and 4 a.m., yeah.
I mean, think of when he was raided at his parents' house. He was up. I think he has that schedule. Is it that weird for a college kid? I know I'm up at 3 and 4 a.m., usually at least once or twice a week,
yeah,
okay?
not out driving around listening to a podcast, though.
No, if I lived alone, maybe. Maybe. If I'm getting stir crazy.
Do we know if it was a weekend? I actually don't remember what day of the week it was. I don't remember
what day it's on, but I think all of those things are plausible, though. I really, really do. I'm not going to cast doubt on what he enjoys doing. And I've met tons of people in my life that enjoy driving, okay? Mm-hmm. It calms them down. Or maybe if you have like ADHD like I do, just seeing so many things at once going past you helps my brain work. It helps it calm down.
I guess it would make sense if he was a DoorDash driver.
Yep. Yeah,
and then
that's what I was just saying. And then he could have been DoorDash, and it's a college town. They don't stop.
Yeah, that time of night would be ideal for DoorDash because people are drunk and, want food.
Yes.
So it wouldn't be an odd time to be doing DoorDash deliveries. It might actually be prime time.
Yep.
But going on that, well, then why did he turn his phone off if he's doing DoorDash deliveries? Maybe because he walked in on a crime scene.
Or it died, or a million other things, right? So this is why they're working so hard to get this thrown out, okay? So we've covered his alibi, all right? Now, what you were talking about earlier is sure. Ann Taylor could come forward. Let's say they get the evidence. They get something they've been waiting on. They were able to pull somebody's footage showing his car somewhere way different from where the crimes were. And they get that evidence and they bring it forward to the judge. The judge absolutely can allow that into the case. And I honestly think that the judge would be crazy not to. However, that's a gamble still, because the judge might not. If it's not strong enough, if it seems easily manipulatable, that judge could say, no, it's past the deadline, we aren't including that, and there's nothing they can do about that.
At this point, because they passed the deadline, it is totally in the judge's hands now. And I saw a lawyer reacting to this, and I actually really like him. I just found his channel. But he was talking about it, and he said, if it's a reasonable judge, like assuming the best, if Ann Taylor comes in there and says, look, we really wanted to make the deadline, but we needed this specific witness, and we could not get a hold of them to meet the deadline, but we have an alibi with a witness that will corroborate
You're talking about the lawyer or whatever.
I'm not sure.
Yeah. Yeah, I know who you're talking about.
Yeah. But anyway, he was talking about that, and he was like, if he's he would be crazy not to accept that.
He
would.
But
now, if they're if it's something
in the
else,
pursuit of justice, yes.
Right? Yeah. Then,
correct.
He can make a judgment call based off of what she's actually presenting.
But now, it needs to be rock solid.
If it's just if it's not something that's okay, there's something to this, then he probably would not allow it.
Yes. Absolutely.
He's also speculating, like you said, if they're just going to use Kohberger's statement as his alibi, like him being on the stand as his alibi.
Well, and people, like, I'm glad you said it in that way, right? Because you said that almost jokingly, like it could be funny if they just use him as an alibi. But you got to remember, to create doubt, you could take Bryan Kohberger's alibi paired with some kind of driving expert, okay? And he says, look, I wasn't here. We have your own evidence showing my car at this spot at this time, then my car at this spot at this time. I'm telling you, I didn't drive this way. I drove this way, okay? And because the speed limit's higher over here and it's lower over there, you actually get there in the same amount of time. And then having an expert come up and corroborating that, yes, that is absolutely possible, and it's actually more likely, and this is why. I think that could create some serious doubt.
You're right.
You know?
It could.
And that's totally within the possibility in this situation, right? Now, I am very curious to see what they have up their sleeves for this alibi. If they do, or if they're putting all their eggs in the basket to get this dropped. The gosh, I'm drawing a blank right now. The grounds of error for the what's the case called?
The grand jury.
The grand jury. Yeah, get the grand jury.
The grand jury indictment. They
dropped,
actually saw
correct.
more about this, that they believe that the jury was misled.
That's what we're gonna get into here. So. On that request, motion to dismiss indictment on grounds of error in grand jury instructions or in the alternative remand for preliminary hearing. That means taking some steps back and redoing the grand jury hearing. So we have... Comes now Bryan C. Kohberger by and through their attorney, J. Weston Logsdon, Chief Deputy Litigation, and hereby moves this honorable court for an order either dismissing the indictment in this matter or to treat it as a presentment and remand for a preliminary hearing before a magistrate. This motion is made on the grounds that the grand jury was misled as to the standard of proof required for an indictment. Misled as to the standard of proof required for an indictment. And I think where this is interesting, a lot of people out there, myself included, you guys, I didn't know until I started looking into this, but I had no idea that there were stipulations for the grand jury when they convene to vote and agree on whether this is going to a grand jury trial or not, okay? Now, what we're hearing is that for whatever reason, okay, this grand jury was misled that the expected or accepted standard of proof that Kohberger is tied to this case was, like, let's say we're using a 1 through 10 chart. They were misled that, you know, it could be anywhere from 1 to 5 strength, when in reality, a grand jury should be without a doubt 100% you have enough evidence to tie my defendant to this case. It should have been graded somewhere up between 5 to 10, 7 to 10 rank on strength, essentially. And this is a really good comparison. In order for this to move forward, the evidence should have looked like Rex Heuermann's.
Yeah, and maybe not even that extensive. Maybe a little even less.
Not what I heard from lawyers. Lawyers are saying grand jury evidence needs to be without doubt.
Yeah, well, see, the grand jury for the Ramsey case, which we covered last week, they actually moved to indict the parents. But the DA disagreed with the jury and felt like there wasn't enough and said, no, we're not going to press charges.
Oh, wow. I am glad for that. That would have been horrible. Oh, my gosh.
Yeah, and they were really more there for neglect and putting Benet Ramsey, or John Benet Ramsey.
She was in a room.
Well, they're saying they put her in a position for this to happen and were neglectful. I don't agree with that.
No, that's messed up.
I do not agree with that. Do I think that the whole pageant thing and putting her up, you know... a lot of parents do that though. Like, and not all of them get into these kinds of situations. And they were in a big, nice home, and like,
Yeah.
So I don't know how that worked, but I find it interesting that the grand jury wanted to indict them, and the DA was like, nah, this isn't strong enough.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I agree.
So that means the DA can override a grand jury, even if they were misled.
Well, sure they can. They're in control of that.
Yeah, so the DA and the grand jury, nobody caught that this is not enough proof to tie him to it. It needs to be stronger. Like, y'all need to go back out in the field and do some more investigating and then bring it back to our attention.
I agree.
Is there evidence we don't know? It's sealed. There's a gag order, so there's stuff we don't know.
Okay, so then I look at it as one of two ways, okay? What Ann Taylor is doing right now is working around the gag order by getting public bought into thinking and believing that the evidence against Kohberger isn't strong. And she's not actually submitting this request to have the grand jury reconvened or the indictment removed with the intention of that happening. She's doing it to get the public to think that there's not enough evidence, okay? Totally possible.
To start creating doubt, these ideas that the case is mishandled and there's not enough proof, and, like getting that going, that whole idea. Yep. Yeah, I understand what you're saying.
I think there is enough doubt here for myself, okay? And
I agree
when you
with
look
that.
at the police officers and the stuff these police officers did was well before the Bryan Kohberger stuff, but here's the thing, it was recent enough for it to matter, and that is, there's a reason why Ann Taylor was asking for 3 very specific police officers' training records, work history, and things of that nature. If you guys haven't watched the live stream where we talk over the story of 2 of those police officers being involved in a very shady situation, it's scary. It's scary to think that police could act like that, okay? And yes, it creates doubt for any investigation they're involved in. So Ann Taylor could be leaning on all these points of weakness in the trial to create doubt, to get the jury on his side, to get public on Kohberger's side. I think it's totally possible. I do. But I can also see there being some factual basis to the standard not meeting the criteria, because I don't feel like the current evidence meets that standard of no doubt he is definitely part of it.
I know. And you can that's what's funny about this evidence. You can take it and twist it to make it look so solid, or
slam dunk. Yeah,
like a slam dunk case, like his DNA is on the crime scene. That cell tower puts him in the area at that time, this and this. But then when you look into the details of that evidence, there's doubt there. Which is what a jury's going to do, and the experts are going to do, and the defense is going to do. They're going to poke holes in all of it and give, they're going to counter it with other experts. So it's like, is this solid enough at its foundation when someone comes poking holes with contradictory evidence that it's going to hold up?
I agree with you. I think it was all the way it was worded, and the prosecution did a really good job about painting a picture of Kohberger and then attacking with that gag order, because yes, they brought forward the DNA evidence, failing to let people know that touch DNA in the science world is considered a pseudoscience. It's not even acceptable in military court. They do not allow it because it is such a pseudoscience. It is so unreliable that NCIS or any of the other factions are not allowed to use the touch DNA in military court. That says something, okay?
It does.
We were told this was a slam dunk based on some of these things. Now, the cell phone tower, it covers a 27-mile radius. You divide that by 3 because there's 3 sides of the tower, 3 areas it could connect on. It could also connect to 2, by the way. That means that Bryan Kohberger could be let's just go with one side, could be somewhere in a 10-mile radius. That is not good evidence and placing somebody at a scene 10 miles, you
at
guys.
a single piece of property, a single house, which
10
is what they're
miles.
trying to say, that he was literally there.
I know.
With this evidence.
Like traveling there, no. He was traveling somewhere in this 10-mile range.
We don't know.
On one side of the cell phone
and
tower.
they're using these blurry security camera footage of his car, and there's no license plate. There's no way. There's 22,000 white Hyundai Elantras in this town.
Yeah, in that general area. Yeah. And then there's also other footage coming out, and I think it's being done intentionally to continue trying to paint him. But, you know, we saw that one, I don't know if it's called the Linda Lane footage, where it shows the white car, like, doing a 3-point turn to turn around. Dude, anybody that owns a BMW, okay, will know right away that is a BMW. You can tell by the back fender. You can tell by the scoops behind the front wheels. Like, those are only BMW traits. That is not a Hyundai Elantra with, you know, black 20-inch rims on them, dual exhaust, and a sunroof that covers the whole thing. It's a BMW X4M, a very specific car that's over $100,000. Like, there's not going to be that many of them around, you know?
Yeah.
And yeah, none of it is a slam dunk. But to be fair, any of this could also mean that Bryan Kohberger's guilty. I don't want people to mistake our questions as us being bought into and being innocent. That is not it at all. What I'm bought into is that I do not agree with the current storyline.
Yeah, and what I want at the end of the day is justice.
Absolutely.
And I want the real killer caught. Like, I don't want to have doubts that this man is going to be put to death by a firing squad. And he's innocent, and there's a real killer out there. And if you want a good alternative theory, which I've actually seen more content creators talking about it lately, you got to check out last week's drug theory.
Yes.
Because that is really interesting. Like, when you presented all of the evidence, I was shocked. Mm-hmm. I didn't know there was that many correlations and coincidences. It's kind of crazy.
You know, I figured out more with that too. Like, there is a local contact at the sorority that says that one day before, they threw out a large quantity of dope in the neighbor's trash can.
What?
Confirmed. So when they were talking about, oh, I told Adam everything, they were talking about dope. And there are also people in the local area saying that the students knew that were associated with that circle that they were worried about getting roughed up because they didn't want to do it anymore. Something happened, and they were worried about getting roughed up, and nobody expected them to be ended over this. It's not like they had $1 million worth of dope in that house. What they probably had is maybe $1,000 worth of dope.
Yeah. And it makes me curious. So if Kohberger's not the guy, and say this really was like somehow had to do with like a cartel, drug dealers, something like that, like career criminals, like legit criminals that ended them, how did Kohberger become the suspect? Because you know what I saw is that they connected Kohberger and considered him a suspect just because he was at the university and drove that car. That's it.
Yeah.
No connection to the victims. There's just a guy that was like, oh, this guy, he works at the university and he drives a white Hyundai Elantra.
And
they were like, oh, okay, that is him.
What they're looking for is that the case was built backwards, and that I believe that Ann Taylor, based on how she's handling this and the way she's managing this, truly thinks that Bryan Kohberger is innocent. I think so too. Really do. She's fighting with how bought in hard. She is. Yeah. And I think what they were looking for is that statement account taken by one of those two police officers that we talked about in that different situation with the doctor that got falsely charged and all this stuff. They took this information, thought it was a banger, like thought there was something to it, and they solved this thing, brought it to their superiors and was like, look, boss, I have a feeling like this is it. This is the guy we've been looking for, you know. They're all hyped up on emotions and wanting to get this guy. There's so much pressure coming from the school. So they realize and do some research in the background on him. Oh, dude, the car doesn't match. What do you mean the car doesn't match? Pull him up. Let's see. I mean, they look very similar. Okay, let's change the year now of the vehicle that we're looking for, because obviously this is our guy. That can be the reasoning why the year of the car changed.
Just like
all
the
of a
murder
sudden.
times changed.
Just like the murder times changed too. Yes.
But you should, that VOD where we read the full document about that framed doctor by the police.
We should probably do a video on it, a pre-record.
What I'm going to do is I'm going to make a thumbnail for it so it's easily identifiable, and you need to post that on the screen when you mention it.
Yeah.
So that you guys can go find it, because we
a...
read through the entire thing, and it's really interesting.
And it reads like a story. And what the cool thing is we actually pulled up pictures so you can see exactly who, what, where, and how a police officer was directly involved in the location that the bullet came from that falsely accused this doctor. Like, dude, it is wild, you guys.
It's a wild story, and it's told like a story in the document, and it's official. It is 100% real, authentic court document.
Yeah. But anyways, that is the update for this week. We'll have something new next week. We're going to stay on top of this. I'm hooked. I'm bought in, and I hope you guys are too, and you enjoy coming along the ride with us. Let us know how you feel about this. Do you think they're onto something by presenting Bryan Kohberger's alibi in this way? How do you think they're going to present it? Do you have any experience in the court system, and you've seen this before, and you know what direction they're going to go based off past cases, which is what a lot of lawyers use to give them a frame of reference for planning for future cases, okay? What do you think about Ann Taylor asking to get this entire thing dropped or reassessed in the same way, but the corrected standard of proof required for the indictment? Do you think she's going to get any movement on this? Do you think that if we're able to, if she's able to change the social perception of Bryan Kohberger, where you have people swayed more, okay, he could be innocent maybe, he could be guilty maybe, are we going to see the judge become more lenient to these things, like coming back and looking at the indictment on the grand jury, you know? Do you think that's her possible plan and play here? What do you think? Let us know. Anything.
Absolutely. I'm super bought into this case.
I know.
It just gets more interesting as
more
comes out.
And the external factors, like the background of these police officers, like, blows me away. I cannot believe that we have actual evidence, proof, that a police officer threatened a county coroner to not be an eyewitness when he was a real eyewitness in that case. And that same police officer that did that was working evidence on the Kohberger case.
Yeah, and he also stalked the doctor after he was cleared. After he was convicted and then later cleared, he stalked him.
It's insane. Okay.
And he's still a police officer to this day.
Wild. But check it out. Let us know what you think. And we'll talk soon about this.
Yep.